Frontier, as you've just heard, has a track record going back since the inception of the games industry. Actually, the game that we're about to show you had its roots in it was one of the very first ever 3D games. It was one of the very first games that we now called an open world game, which allows you to go anywhere and do anything, which is very, very popular with gamers. It started by a guy called David Braben, who's recently been awarded an OBE and is also involved in the Raspberry Pi Foundation for increasing computer science education for kids, which is where you may also have heard of him. He's the CEO of the company. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I used to work for a company called ARM in Cambridge, which designs microprocessors that go into phones, car ABS systems, etc., etc. A very successful company. We've also obviously got a very, very talented team of world-class game developers. Games are a mixture of software, so they're a software product, but there are also a lot of art involved in them, modelling and animation and things like that. So our teams our development teams are a great mixture of talented people. On the board there's David Braben, myself, obviously a CFO who's a doer accountant, as they tend to be, and also we've got some great non-exec investors as well. The chairman of a company called Abcam, based in Cambridge as well. It's another very large market cap AIM company as well. So what's going on in the games industry? In a similar way to the music and movie industry is online disruption, essentially, where typically our products were got to market through a publisher, so similar to a book or a piece of music, where we would get an advance to make the game. A publisher which would be funded by a publisher, then the publisher would market the game, and we'd receive a small royalty per copy, which would recoup our advance, and then if the game sold over its break even, then we would start to get royalties per copy, but at a small level, relatively, perhaps 10 or 15% level is typical. What the online business is allowing us to do now is to really take control of our own distribution channels, and hence quadruple or quintuple our revenue per copy of the game that we make. Obviously that does mean we have to invest to start with in making the game, which we didn't have to before. So we're currently in transition between this publishing model of working with paid for work for hire, and also self-publishing, investing in our own games and reaping the rewards of that. So why are we confident that's going to be successful? Well, we've actually got a 20 or 30 year track record in making a huge number of games in diverse genres, which have all been very successful, all been on hits on every platform like PC, console, and now smartphone and tablet. So the money from Amati is allowing us to add a small amount of marketing capability to our company, which is all we need to do. So the games industry is constantly evolving, but the big change at the moment is in this business model. So all we're having to do is really grow the capability of promoting our product ourselves, because the distribution is taken care of online via our own websites, which we're setting up, and also things like the Apple App Store and online services on consoles like Xbox Live and so on. So the last-minute faffing with video that you just saw me doing is a direct result of what's been enabled by the Amati money. We've just come back from Los Angeles, a very large trade show called E3, where we've been showing our game off, and I'd like to show you the trailer that we put together for that now, to give you an idea of what the game is all about. So. That's what we were showing last week. I'm happy to say that it was extremely well received by the media in general. We won a couple of Best of Show awards, a bit like a Crufts or a Jim Carner or something, but we won a couple of awards, which is great, and awareness has really been built up. And we, as a brand, Elite has been very strong in Europe, which we've seen in the pre-sales that we've had. But now we're really happy that we've been focusing on North America, and awareness is really raising there, and we're now getting very, very good traction from North American customers as well. So that's great news. The game that we are making, the Elite game, was actually quite an interesting genesis. So as you've heard, it was our IP from many decades ago, actually. But we were always getting requests from people who were asking us to, when are you going to do another game in the Elite series? And it's very difficult to know when you get emails like that, whether that's just a few very vociferous people or whether there is a real demand for it. And so we were able to take advantage of a relatively new phenomenon called crowdfunding, which was, we went on a website called Kickstarter, and also via our own website, where we actually have now got well over 50,000 people have actually signed up for backing the game, essentially, which is giving us money for no stake in the profit of the game, or the revenue from the game, but just because they want to see it made. And that really gave us money, but we've also put a lot of our own working capital into the game as well. But more importantly, it was validation that there is a very significant audience there for the game. So that allowed us then to move forward into production with confidence, and also talk to people like Amati and other investors who, again, were willing to back our story. We had a very successful IPO, and subsequently, since our IPO, I think our share price has significantly more than doubled. And the development of the game is really progressing very well. We're in it's very interesting. If we were doing a game with a company like Microsoft, for example, which we've done many of, there's a tremendous secrecy would surround that, and it would be revealed in a blaze of glory very close to the launch date of the game. With this crowdfunding model, we've been forced to almost do 180 on that and actually be very, very public about the development, and it's been a fantastic opportunity for us to really engage with our customers, and I think the game is very much the better for that as well, because it's really been many aspects of it have been crowdsourced. We've been very open and asked our customers what they would like to see in the game, and been very reactive to that. So that's good. So I am about to play another video now, which I'm going to talk over, which is a little bit of a longer one. It's slightly more relaxed, so don't worry too much about that. And we'll just show some of the game off. I think it might be worth just touching down the volume of the game if we can. That'd be great. So in the game here, it's, as I mentioned, it's what's called an open world game. So really you can go anywhere and do anything. Obviously, in the games industry, as in any industry, you're trying to always plus what you've done before. You're always trying to make a great leap before. And the massive leap that we've made with Elite Dangerous is the fact that it's actually set in a representation of the real Milky Way galaxy. And that means there are 400 billion star systems in it, which is quite a staggering feat, and is a very cool thing to do, and a very exciting thing from a gamer's perspective. The way we've actually done that's been entirely enabled by the fact that we have our own technology. We call it Cobra, and it's what's called a game engine and a set of associated tools. And what that really means, it's essentially like our own operating system that we then port to things like, obviously to PC, but also to Xbox, PlayStation, and smartphones like Apple and Samsung smartphones as well, or Android smartphones. And that allows us, it's cross-platform, and it really, because we're in control of that technology, it allows us to really do very innovative things with our games, which I think has been a real hallmark of our success. In the past, we've really tried to get great reward from our games by doing something new and innovative, rather than just a succession of Me Too products, which is unfortunately all too familiar complaint with a lot of the games industry products that are out there. So an amazing play space for people. You can see here the circle there is the current limit, because we're in a very early beta phase at the moment. So we've got only around 10 systems in our game at the moment, as opposed to the 400 billion that there will be. But there is so a little bit of work to do. But there's a galactic map here that you can see being demonstrated. So the way so it sounds like a fantastic, an incredible claim that we've got 400 billion star systems in the game. The way that's done is by procedural generation, which is a tool that we've used very much in the past and are very experienced at using that. And it doesn't mean random generation, it means a leveraging of our artists and programmers' efforts in a rule-based way. And so the rules that we're using to do this is real physics. So previous iteration of this game predicted planets in stars that you can see from the Earth, or planets orbiting around stars that you can see from the Earth, pre the days of the Hubble Space Telescope. And then when Hubble went up, it pointed itself at these systems, and lo and behold, it did find planets in the regions where we said there would be. So it's based on real physics. It's also based on astronomical observation. So there are 150 observable stars from Earth, and they're all correctly in the game. So if you go to Earth in the game, you will see the night sky as we know it. You can see the constellations, but if you move anywhere else, obviously everything shifts around because you're in the real Milky Way galaxy. Then procedural generation takes over after that that uses mass distribution of the Milky Way galaxy to predict what types of stars there are and then what planets there are there. So it really is pretty much the most exact experience of being in the Milky Way that you can have, short of going off and building a future spaceship and flying around there. Obviously that's just a backdrop for the game, but it's one hell of a backdrop. It's a very exciting thing to be able to tell people. So what you really do in the game is it's all about money.
About 1 more minute.
Oh, no problem at all, yeah. So this is a game all about money, which I'm sure you're pleased to hear. So players do anything at all they can in the game to get money. So you can trade between all these different systems. Some systems may be agricultural systems, so food is cheap, but high-tech is very expensive. So you take food to a high-tech place and buy cheap high-tech goods and take them to an agricultural place, etc., etc. Or you can be a pirate if that's too much of a faff, or you can just steal other people's cargo, or you can be a bounty hunter and you can shoot the pirates who've just done that to collect the bounty on their heads. Beyond that as well, there's a massive backstory in the galaxy. There are 3 competing factions. There's the Empire, the Alliance, and the Federation, who are all essentially locked in this big Cold War that they'll pay you to go on different sides and all that sort of stuff as well. So there's a huge scope of things to do. The fact it's an online game as well is absolutely brilliant for us because we can continue post-release. We're not reliant on what goes on a silver disc, where we can continue to update it, and it's got a life after launch, and we have some very exciting plans going forward to keep this game alive essentially for a long time. And also, taking a step back, we've got other products coming online as well that we can self-publish that are going to be equally significant. And so we think we've got a really very, very bright future ahead of us. And again, it's in no small part to the investment of people like Amati in our company. So thank you very much.
Thank you.